Welcome back, folks, for another episode on what's coming next for War of Tanks. Now before we start, I just want to show you a picture. So let this sink in a bit. Yeah, baby. Are you interested? This is going to be the new Tier 8 American light tank, the T49. So let's get started. So with the 9.3 patch, Americans will receive 3 new light tanks, starting at Tier 6, coming right after the Chafee. Today's video is going to be about the new Tier 8 and final light tank, the T49. So basically, the T49 was a M41 Bulldog's hull armor equipped with a better 90mm gun instead of the 76mm gun, because the 76mm gun were having trouble and were inadequate enough to penetrate Soviet-made T-54s. So a 90mm gun was strapped in order to combat Soviet-made T-54s. Now, due to difficulties with this tank, such as the inaccuracy of the gun, the army lost interest in this project, and this tank was put away in 1955. 7 years later, this tank got a new Lend-Lease on life. So basically what they did is they put the XM551 turret from the M551 Sherdan onto this Bulldog's hull, so renamed this as the new T49. That's just 59? Okay, whatever. So basically what that means is this tank can now fire missiles from the short-barreled 152mm caliber gun. So basically it looks a lot like the Sherdan from these two pictures, but the new T49 was very capable. It was a scout tank, but it has a very caliber gun, and the gun can fire missiles out of it in order to destroy heavily armed targets such as the T-54s. So that's pretty sweet. So here are the in-game models for the T49. As you can see, this tank has 2 different turrets to represent the history with this tank. So the original turret is to mount a 90mm gun in order to fight the T-54s it encountered. The second turret, the XM551 turret, is used from the Sherdan in order to mount the missile launching gun thing. The short barrel missile launcher thing. So this tank is very pretty. It is like a Bulldog, except with a very modern turret. This turret looks very pretty in my opinion. It looks very modern. Like it kind of reminds me of the Makarov turret from the Israels. So that's pretty sweet looking turret. I mean, it looks very futuristic compared to the bulky oval shaped turret from the original Bulldog. So alright, so that's pretty nice. And here are the main stats for this crazy tank. I love it already. But as you can see, this tank has no armor whatsoever. The best you can get is 38mm, and that's probably behind the mantlet on the turret. So yeah, you're not gonna have a lot of armor. The top plate is about 32mm. The bottom plate is about 35-ish millimeters. So you might be able to bounce some lucky shots, but don't rely on it. You might. It's very well sloped, but still you have no armor. The turret, however, looks pretty weak. It's only about 16-ish, 19-ish millimeters on the turret, but it is very well rounded, I guess. But you might be able to bounce shots if you're lucky, but don't depend on the turret to bounce shots. Now if the turret has about 50-ish millimeters of armor, you will bounce a few shots because of the weird shape of the turret. Now given the size of this tank, since this tank uses the same hull armor or hull as the Bulldog, you can see comparison between the Bulldog and the Chafee that the Bulldog is not that big, so this tank is not going to be that big. Also, the turret is also not going to be as big as the Bulldog's turret, so this tank might have a better camo rating than the Bulldog. And here are the other stats for this tank. As you can see, this tank only weighs 22.6 tons, so the only thing you should ram is probably the AMX 1390. Other than that, do not go ramming anything else, because yeah, tanks at high tiers probably weigh around 70 tons, so it does hurt if you ram them. So obviously don't go ramming anything else unless you're desperate. You have 1100 hit points, so you could take a few hits, but remember, high tier tank destroyers does about 560 damage per shot, so you die in about 2 hits. You do not want to face the Death Star, the Jagdpanzer U100, because they can kill you in 1 hit, obviously. So you have some good amount of standardized health, but not enough to take a few hits, so you're a light tank, obviously. Try to hide it as best as possible. A very standard view range, 400 meters, and very standard radio range, 745. The hull armor is the same as the M41 Bulldog, 25 at the front, 25 at the sides, not given at the rear, about 10-20ish at the rear, so not that much armor, obviously. Turret armor is 38 at the front, 15.9 at the sides, probably 10mm at the rear. So you might be able to bounce a few shots given the highly sloped upper turret as well as the mantlet. So you might be able to bounce one shot coming like this into the mantlet and out to the upper of the top of the turret, but don't rely on it. It's well sloped, but do not rely on it, obviously. Engine is very good, the same engine as the Bulldog, 550 horsepower, given a power to weight ratio of 24.3, which is pretty good for a light tank. Maximum speed is 72, and reverse speed is 24. I think this is probably the same speed as the Bulldog. I think the Bulldog can go 80, but still pretty good speed. Hull traverse is decent, 44 degrees per second. It is not as good as the Bulldog at 54, so you cannot turn as well. So don't play like the Bulldog. Also, you have worse ground resistance than the Bulldog. The Bulldog has 0.4 for hard terrain, 0.5 for medium terrain, and 1.0 for soft terrain. So you do not have enough ground resistance like the Bulldog. But this resistance is kind of like the T71, so it still can shift, just not as well as the Bulldog, obviously. Now the main thing is the guns. This tank gets 3 different guns. The first gun is the original 90mm gun on the T49. This gun is not that accurate, obviously, with not that much penetration. So basically, originally this gun has HE, heat, and HESH ammo. So basically the first type you see is the HESH. The HESH has decent enough penetration against HE, and does more damage, but it's not against the heat shells, obviously. The heat shells has way more penetration, but doesn't do as much damage. And the HE shell has nowhere near as good as a pen as the HESH ammo, but does the same damage, obviously. The second gun is from the XM551 turret, so from the Sherdan. As you can see, this gun is a 152mm cannon. It will penetrate with heat shells. So basically you have HE, heat shells, and premium HE as your ammunition types. So normal HE does 76mm pen and 910 damage. Premium HE probably has a bigger splash radius, obviously, with the same amount of damage. And the heat shell has nice penetration, I guess, for a 152mm, but does 700 damage, obviously. And the top gun is from the Pershing, I think, or the Patton. Is this from the Patton or Pershing? I don't remember, but yeah, it's a 90mm gun from one of those. Wait, is it the M46 Patton or Pershing? Fuck, I don't remember, but whatever. It is from either one of those tanks, and it is a very good penetrating gun, 173mm and 240 damage. But it's compared to the derp gun, I would rather use the derp gun, obviously. So DPM wise, this tank fires about every 22 seconds, like the KV2, and the DPM is about 1900, so it's alright. Compared to the Bulldog has freaking 2700, but still, you're firing a freaking 152mm cannon on this tank, which is crazy. Now, I think you have to use premium ammo, obviously, in order to fire the heat shells. But if you're using normal ammo, you can still dirt people for a lot of damage, like at least 400 damage per shot. So it's still gonna be annoying, obviously. So you're a light tank firing a KV2 shell. That's gonna be crazy. So rate of fire is pretty low, 2.7 rounds per second. Accuracy is pretty bad, 0.57. Aim time is also pretty bad, 3.4. You have very good gun depression, however, at -10 and +20 elevation. Turret traverse is decent at 46 degrees per second. So this tank is more like a super small KV2. They're gonna annoy the shit out of people. Alright, so basically I'm gonna compare the KV2's 152mm with the T49. It looks like you have a better DPM than the freaking KV2 on the T49. That is crazy. Yeah, it's about the same DPM, almost the same DPM, but you have more penetration with your premium heat shells than the KV2. Now, if you're going to use the normal HE shells, the KV2 beats you by about 10 more millimeters. Let's see. So basically, use the normal HE 86, and go back to the picture. So 76. So yeah, the KV2 has 10 more millimeter penetration on the HE shell, but if you're both using premium shells, you get like 20 more penetration with heat instead of the normal AP on the KV2. So it's pretty weird how this is a 4-man tank. You have a driver, a gunner, a loader, and a commander, and you're loading this gun faster than the 6-man crew on the KV2. The KV2 has a commander, radio operator, driver, gunner, loader, another loader, I think. Yeah, 2 loaders. So basically you're reloading this gun faster than a KV2's 6-man crew. That doesn't make sense. That does not make sense whatsoever. So yeah, this tank, yeah, the T49, it's a weird little freaking light tank. It has a KV2's gun on it. So basically you get your dream of playing the KV2 with a smaller, more stealthy hull and faster mobility, way good mobility, but the ground resistance is not that good, so it's decent. But you're playing this tank with a KV2's gun, so basically even if you don't penetrate with your HE shells, you're gonna still damage them by like 400 health. Or if you're gonna hit something like the Waffenträger E100, you're gonna do like freaking 1000 damage. That is gonna be crazy. This is probably the best German glass cannon destroyer, or counter to that line of tanks. Oh my god, it's a HE shell from this little bitty tank. I love it. I really want one now. It's like one of my favorite tanks in the game is the KV2 because it can do a lot of damage even if you don't penetrate. So it doesn't care about armors, whereas most tank does, because you have to work the penetration in. Whereas the KV2 just comes around the corner, derps you, and go back in the corner. So yeah, this tank looks amazing. And so far from the Bulldog as well, the Bulldog has a lot of good DPM and very good stats such as ground resistance and whatnot. But this tank also looks pretty fun. It's a KV2 gun on a freaking light tank. The world doesn't know what is going. It's like it feels like Russian made. Like, yeah, comrade, we're gonna stick a big gun on a small tank, obviously. Why did I sound like Dracula? I don't even know. But still, the mind just boggles to think. Now, if this tank fires missiles, like the original Sherdan, which fires the Shalayev missiles, I think I pronounced it right. But still, there's no missile system within World Tanks, so you can only fire these lobbing big shells with 152mm. But God, this tank feels amazing. It feels crazy because the mind struggles to wrap around the concept of putting a 152mm cannon on a super small tank. Now you will figure the freaking cannon will blow the turret off because of how much recoil it has. So basically, when you're firing this thing, just like pfft, your whole turrets come off. But fuck it, I don't care. Put this big gun on the turret. So in my honest opinion, the new light tank line for the Americans look very fun. Yes, I mean the Bulldog looks pretty fun. The new T49 looks pretty fun. So fuck, I have to get the Chafee now because I never got the Chafee and I'm still working on it. But the other lines such as the T71 and the T69 also are fun. They're auto-loading cannons that does a lot of burst damage, leading up to the legendary T57 Heavy. But this new light tank line looks also fun. I mean, you have a derp cannon, the 152mm on a light tank. The mind just doesn't compute. It fires missiles. It doesn't compute. My mind, it blows. It hurts. So basically, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and feel free to rate this video and comment below on what you think about this new Tier 8 American light tank with a freaking KV2 derp cannon. But other than that, I have more info regarding to a new Tier 6 light tank, the T37. I just need to find out more pictures. And I have few info about the Russian LTTP and the T-54 object, or Obla, which is the T-54 light tank. So I don't know if that's a light tank or medium, but if it's a light tank, it's fucking OP. So if you like what you saw, subscribe to my channel for more info about these tanks when I get more pictures and compile them into a video, as well as my tips on tank plays, as well as my tank reviews for water tanks. But other than that, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.